in Odiakoko.
The air in Odiakoko was thick with something unseen, something heavy. It wasn't just the humidity that clung to evangelist Daniel Okchukwa's skin as he stepped off the bus. It was a presence, an unsettling feeling that made the hairs on his neck stand. He had been to many towns, preached in many places, but none felt quite like this. Pastor Ben Okafor, a short, energetic man with kind eyes, was waiting for him at the motor park. "Welcome, evangelist," he said, shaking Daniel's hand. "We've been expecting you." Daniel nodded. "Thank you, Pastor Ben. I trust God has great things in store for this town." Pastor Ben's smile faltered just a little. "I believe so too. But Odiakoko is different. You'll understand soon." They drove in silence through the town. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. Small shops lined the dusty roads, and people went about their daily business. Yet, there was a weight in the atmosphere, as if the town itself was holding its breath. As they approached the church, a group of old women sitting by the roadside suddenly stopped their chatter and turned to stare. One of them, her eyes cloudy with age, muttered something under her breath. Daniel caught a single word. Idioma. Journey. Inside the church, a handful of members were waiting, praying. The moment Daniel stepped in, Mama Grace, the head intercessor, opened her eyes and gasped. "It has begun," she whispered. That night, as Daniel knelt to pray in his room at the church quarters, the wind outside picked up. The trees swayed violently, and a deep, guttural sound echoed through the air. Then came the knock. Slow. Deliberate. 3 times. Daniel stood, his heart steady. Who knocks at a pastor's door at midnight? He reached for the door handle and opened it. There was no one there. But on the ground, written in dark, wet strokes, was a single word. "Leave." Evangelist Daniel stood frozen at the doorway, staring at the wet, dark strokes forming the word "leave" on the ground. His heart pounded, but he refused to let fear take hold. He bent down, touched the strange writing, and lifted his fingers to his nose. Blood. A chill ran through him. The wind howled through the trees, making the night feel even darker. Slowly, he stepped back inside and shut the door, locking it. Then, he fell to his knees. "Lord, whatever this is, I will not run. Let your power be revealed in this land." The next morning, he told Pastor Ben and Mama Grace what had happened. Mama Grace sighed deeply, shaking her head. "Odiakoko is bound by an old covenant, evangelist. A strong one." Pastor Ben gestured for Daniel to follow him. They walked to the back of the church, where an old, frail man sat under a mango tree. His name was Papa Ekan, one of the oldest men in Odiakoko. "I know why you have come," Papa Ekan said before Daniel could even speak. His voice was like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "But do you know what you are up against?" Daniel met his gaze. "I have faced darkness before, Papa." The old man chuckled bitterly. "Not like this." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. 50 years ago, a deal was struck. Blood for prosperity. A sacrifice every cycle, and the town flourished. That is why Odiakoko appears peaceful. But beneath, his eyes darkened. Beneath, it is rotten. Daniel clenched his fists. No wonder the atmosphere felt heavy. But why hasn't anyone broken it? he asked. Papa Eakin sighed. Because the one who dares must be ready to pay the price. Just then, a piercing scream shattered the morning air. A woman ran into the church compound, tears streaming down her face. My son is dying. Daniel and Pastor Ben rushed to her. The little boy in her arms was convulsing, his body burning hot. His eyes rolled back, as if something unseen was gripping him. Mama Grace gasped. It has begun. Daniel didn't hesitate. He placed his hands on the child and prayed. In the name of Jesus, let this child be freed. The child's body jerked violently, and a deep, unnatural growl escaped his lips. The air grew thick. For a moment, it felt like the whole town was watching, waiting. Then, suddenly, the boy gasped, his small body relaxing in his mother's arms. Daniel exhaled. This was only the beginning. That evening, the town of Odiakoko buzzed with whispers. Word had spread fast. Evangelist Daniel had prayed, and a boy on the brink of death came back to life. Some rejoiced. Others trembled. But in the grand mansion on the hill, Chief Balogun stood by his window, watching the town below. His face was calm, but his fingers tapped restlessly against the wooden frame. Behind him stood a tall, shadowy figure, Elder Amos, the spiritual custodian of the town's ancient covenant. You told me the signs would not return, Chief Balogun muttered. That the covenant would keep Odiakoko safe and prosperous. Elder Amos's voice was low and gravelly. It did, for 5 decades. But someone has come, someone with fire. Chief Balogun turned sharply. Then put out that fire. Elder Amos bowed slightly. It's not that simple. This one is not ordinary. The altar will react soon. Chief Balogun walked to a painting on his wall, an oil portrait of his grandfather. With a press of a hidden button, the painting slid aside, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. He stared into the gloom. Then we must remind the altar who holds the reins. Meanwhile, Evangelist Daniel sat in the church office, flipping through an old Bible. Pastor Ben walked in, holding a dusty file. This might help, he said, dropping it on the table. Inside were photos and yellowed papers, records of strange deaths, unexplained disappearances, and silent burials no one dared question. And then, Daniel froze. A photo of a young man, nailed to a tree in a forest. Eyes open. Mouth stitched shut. Mama Grace appeared at the doorway. That man was my brother, she said quietly. He tried to expose the altar, 22 years ago. Daniel stood slowly. Where is this tree? She hesitated. In the old forest, behind Chief Balogun's compound. Daniel's heart pounded. This wasn't just spiritual warfare, it was war on every level. That night, thunder cracked across the sky. Daniel stepped out into the compound to pray. From the shadows, 2 red eyes blinked at him and vanished.
The last revival begins tonight.